chapter 17, letting his life fill yours. If you were to choose one word to describe the movement of Jesus through those 3 stunning years of his public action, what word would it be? Now, I know, everybody's going to choose love, but I didn't ask what word you would use to describe his character, his motives. I asked what word you would use to describe his presence, the quality of the many diverse actions that you see. A mother singing lullabies to her child is moved by love, but her actions are best described as tender or adoring. A mountaineer struggling forward at 20,000 feet, exhausted, breathing hard, but refusing to give in, is best described as unrelenting. How would you describe the quality of the presence and the actions of Jesus? In one chapter of Matthew, chapter 9, this is what we see. He steps off the boat from rebuking Legion, and he heals a paralyzed man. He calls Matthew to join him, has dinner in his home with a scandalous crowd, and rebukes the Pharisees for getting in a snit over it. He explains why his disciples don't fast, thus opening up the freedom he came to bring. He raises a little girl from the dead. He heals 2 blind men, and then he heals a mute by casting out a demon. And then he journeys through all the towns and villages, spreading the news about the kingdom of God. All this in one chapter. Okay, if any of us accomplished this in a decade or a lifetime, we would be deeply satisfied. Okay, the word I choose to describe Jesus is life. Pure, lush, exuberant life. Life that proves to be unquenchable, unstoppable, indestructible. As John summarized the whole affair, in him was life, and his life was the light of men. It sure was. Okay, let's turn back to nature one more time. It's such a liberating force from the religious fog because it's God's, and it speaks volumes about his, well, pardon the pun, nature, okay? So what does creation say about his life? All right, a single tree is enough to make me worship. The beauty, the intricacy, the elegance, the perseverance, the life coursing through it. If I was given an entire lifetime, I could never make one. And now, have you ever stopped to imagine how many trees there are on this entire planet? Have you ever wondered how many fish are out there swimming in our oceans and seas? About 700 billion sardines are harvested every year off the coast of Peru. That's one little tiny subspecies off the coast of one small country, okay? There's a lot of fish out there, okay? It boggles the imagination. Come closer. Take a microscopic view of our world. There are hundreds to thousands of organisms in a single drop of pond water, right? Protozoa, amoeba, rotifers, water bears, one drop. How many drops fill a bucket? How many buckets a pond? How many ponds are out there? The earth is like a massive petri dish, teeming, bursting, squirming with life in such staggering diversity and abundance. Science still hasn't cataloged it all. The earth is exploding with life, even after all these years of war. Now, what would happen if this sort of life expressed itself in a man? Exactly. It did. Okay. When Jesus fed the 5,000, the tally only counted men. So the crowd was probably more like 10,000, including women and children, from 5 loaves and 2 small fish with leftovers. He doesn't even say anything in Cana after fill the jars. The 180 gallons of wine are just there. With a shout, he raises Lazarus from the dead. One word best describes what's going on here. Life. Jesus really is the Lord of life. And now, for a wonder of wonders, you get to live his life. Really. Everything you've seen here, everything you've read about, this life is yours for the asking. That is what Jesus believed. That was his understanding of our desperation and his mission. I am the vine. You are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Did you really think that you could be kind for the rest of your life without the inner help of Jesus? One day of kindness is a miracle. What about forgiving, generous, honest? Did you really think you could overcome your lifelong strongholds without some sort of Lazarus-like resurrection? It simply isn't going to happen. Not without the life of Jesus in you. Okay, this was an epiphany for me. I have spent most of my adult years trying to find those keys that would enable people to become whole. Like an archaeologist raking for buried treasure, I've combed through the provinces of counseling and spiritual discipline and inner healing and deliverance and addiction recovery, anything that would help me help people get better. Like Shilman, when his shovel struck the buried ruins of Troy, the epiphany I've come to is this. Jesus has no intention of letting you become whole apart from a moment-to-moment dependence on his presence dwelling in you. Okay, this was an epiphany. Our brokenness and our sin are not something we overcome so that we can walk with God. They are the occasions for us to cry out for the life of God in us to rescue us. Not God outside of us, not God up in the sky somewhere, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Okay? Your only hope of glory. Now let this sink in. Jesus has no intention of letting you become whole apart from his moment-to-moment presence and his life within you. That's the arrangement. Okay? As we love him and experience him and allow his life to fill ours, the personality of Jesus transforms our personalities. The timid become bold, and the bold become patient, and the patient become fierce, and the upright and uptight become free, and the religious become scandalously good. They look to him and were radiant, as the psalm says. They looked to Jesus and became like him. Loving Jesus helps us to become what human beings were meant to be. As Athanasius said, he became what we are, that we might become what he is. It's not just we who need this desperately, by the way, okay? The world desperately needs this to happen in us. Because you realize that whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not, in all our efforts, we are continually portraying the personality of God to the world. It's a sobering thought. Take an evening, cruise the internet, looking at what Christianity looks like to the world. It will make you mighty angry. At least it better. I mean, no wonder the world turns away. At least God still has nature speaking on his behalf. What enormous good would it do in the world if churches were known as playful, witty, fierce, humble, generous, cunning, honest, beautiful, true. When we hold fast to a bland Jesus, we get a bland church. When we hold fast to a two-dimensional Jesus, that equals two-dimensional Christians. As Swinburne lamented, "Thou hast conquered, O pale Galilean, and the world has gone gray from thy breath." That is the tragic effect of the religious Jesus and the religious church upon the world. But this Jesus, this beautiful outlaw, if his exquisite life were to invade ours, It would change everything. And so here's the prayer. Jesus, invade my life. Cleanse this temple. Produce your Cana in me. I give my humanity to you to be restored by your humanity. I give my life to you to live your life. And then the incarnation can continue.